If I am to have a man who stays away from me, I will make effort to always try and visit.
All right.
Okay? I will make an effort. I'll try my best. But kana pasina ma resources akadaro personally inini as a person, speaking for myself.
Welcome, my child. You are not judged here. This is the confession booth. Your story, your secret, your scandal. Unfiltered, unjudged.
Like the thought behind like feminism. Like it wasn't equality that was being chased after. You do know that, right?
What was being chased by feminism?
At its core, and the founders who actually curated it, it was chased to try to bring apart the black family. You do know that, right?
Oh, okay.
When you talk of that's when you talk of, you know, Sugar, that magazine you guys love. Is it Vanity Fair in the early magazine or whatever?
Oh, okay.
Where I think that's the time Pakatangisa you know, like the Masutsa, Amenoma Masutsu, where it was trying to say, yo, we can replace, so because they incarcerated the black men, they'd enslaved him, they'd done all stuff, and then the final blow was to say, yo, tell the black woman that, yo, they really do not need the black men in their life. So the problem with the conversation that's happening everywhere currently is that we act like we're each other's enemies, while when we talk at each other and not talk to each other. And I'm a firm believer of people talking to each other and solving things. And if you go to internet, it's really practical when you then come with your person and deal with your person, because I feel like people are different or whatever. You know, you look at all the other races and stuff like that, where I may not maybe Zurigo, but I've never seen Indian, Arab, Chinese, white women even. I don't think they call their men trashy as black women call.
I think I'm pretty sure it's less subtle. They have their own challenges and they have their own problems.
True that.
Cultures are also different. As black people, we have our own different cultures. Even in our Shona culture, we are different to the Ndebele culture, for example. So obviously the way they deal and treat with things, right, is obviously different. But I feel like because as black people, we were oppressed from a very long time ago. And even in Zimbabwe, we were colonized. And so many things were put upon us, or we were brainwashed, or we were told this. I don't even know my great-great-grandfather, for example. I don't know what he did. I don't know the work he did. So for me to know, okay, what did my ancestry do? What did my lineage do? What great things have they done? I don't know that stuff because it's stuff that came, they made us think, we should ward them away. We shouldn't talk to them. We shouldn't talk about them. We shouldn't do nothing with them. But we don't even know where we come from. So obviously, we're looking at some of the issues or challenges that we face now as black people. It stems from that kind of oppression where they came and told us this is how you should deal with things, this is how you should deal with life. And now that we're trying to adopt other ways of people's living, then we also then mess it up, right? And we're coming here and they wanted to oppress the black man. They're telling us that women don't need men. But we've gotten to a point where it's the 21st century and we do have women who are out there and they're working and they're definitely independent, and it's different. It's different from when our parents and our great-grandparents were growing up. Now we're a little bit more independent, but we've got that etched in our minds, like, you can do your own thing. You can be your own person. So now it's difficult when we get into relationships to now strike that balance, even to get into marriages, to actually then strike a balance and say, okay, I am my own woman. I am my own independent person, but I'm still a woman who's supposed to be submissive to my man. But then you also have men who haven't been probably pulling up their weight to be the men that they're supposed to be. And then they have a woman who is very empowered and who is up there and who's doing all these things. And now the woman is coming in here and I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to be submissive to this man as well.
Just be submissive for 2 minutes and just hold that thought. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Confession Booth. Today I am joined by the hottest female to ever read the news on the face of the planet.
What?
And in her spare time currently, she plays around with a lot of elephants and lions and out there in the wild. And by the time this episode is, she will have a black belt. I've never introduced this show. This is my first time. So tell me, do you really like when you're pissed off, but try just to link up with crazy men so that they can, I wish a nigga would, so that I could just practice the self-defense classes.
I hardly get mad enough to even try and beat up anybody.
Oh yeah, it's a discipline thing, yeah.
But no, I would actually run away. I can't fight to save my own life. But I do know self-defense tricks where I can
But you're a black belt, right?
I want to get a black belt this year in November.
Anyway, Tina Rumbi News Bay, tell us what's been going on with you and... what you haven't been reading the news, so what's been going on? I know that you but what's been going on with you? What's going on in your life and stuff?
Well, a lot has been going on in my life. The reason why I left the news was because I wanted to start telling the stories. And I became a reporter because I want to tell the stories. There's so many stories out there that go untold or that people don't really understand. And for me, that place is environmental issues. And I feel like we live in an environment. Right now, we're sitting in an environment, but people don't realize that whatever it is you do into your environment affects future generations and also affects your own well-being. So for me, it's now all about just raising that awareness on how best we can protect our environment and do better. So it's me just telling the stories using the platform that I was given. I was on the news. I was in people's homes every night. So my face is a bit familiar to them. If I start talking about issues that matter the most, that they also need to understand and start taking into consideration, then that's what I'm putting my voice to. So just using my influence to talk about the things that can help us take care of our planet better.
What's the craziest experience you've had? Being in people's homes every evening is crazy. What's the craziest human interaction you've had with someone who you're that person? What's the crazy experience you've had?
Well, so especially right at the beginning, you can never know if you actually know someone or if they know you from the news, right at the start. So I remember, I think the craziest encounter was someone walking up to me, Rumbi, how are you? And I'm like, is this my relative? Is this my friend? Do I know them? Do I not? Act like you know them. Hi, how are you? It's been a long time, Rumbi. I've been looking for you. I was like, very long time. What have you been up to? Rumbi, I have actually been looking for your number and I lost it. And I'm like, you lost my number? And I actually gave this guy my phone number. And then when he then texted me, he's like, I'm so excited I got to meet you. I've been seeing you on the news. You do some really amazing stuff. I'm really glad to know you. And I'm like, I just gave a fan my phone number and I thought it was a friend or a relative.
So speaking of numbers, what strain does that have now on your personal relationship with your personal person? And then you're famous, a selfie every 2 blocks you walk in town and you're giving fans numbers. How does that
I think right at the beginning, I didn't know how to handle that. So you never know if it's a fan or if it's a friend. It's like you transitioning into being this person. But you have to get to a point where you're not giving your number to people. And I've even asked my friends, don't give anyone my number unless you ask me or you tell me and I know who they are, or I actually want you to give my number to them because it's my personal number. But I've chosen now to have at least 2 numbers, one which is more business oriented and another one which is very personal, right? So you'll have just my personal people knowing that if I hear a message from that number, I know it's my personal people. But if I do meet sometimes, if I'm just walking down the street with my boo and someone just comes, oh my gosh, Rumbi, some people are very respectful. They'll actually come to him and say, hi, how are you? Is that actually Rumbi? Do you think I could take a picture with her or whatever? There's some people who are very respectful like that. Some just come, oh my gosh, hi, oh hi, sorry, Rumbi is a great person, we really like her, Rumbi, I love you, it's like
So, it must be crazy, like being your guy. So like when you guys role play, you don't role play or just play on you.
Oh my gosh, no.
Anyway, what confession do you have for me today? Let's get to the show. I think there's a confession you have.
Okay, there's a confession. The very first one is I've been married for 5 years, and my husband went to the UK in pursuit of greener pastures. I haven't seen him in 3 years, though he provides for me by sending money and stuff. Over the years, I've tried to contain myself, self-control, but it's becoming a toll on me, and I've got emotional needs. My biggest fear is that I might have an affair. I really love my husband, but I've got physical needs, and I sometimes feel the need to scratch the itch.
I don't
remember her name.
Okay. What advice would you give this lady?
It's so difficult. Like, just generally, I've never been in a long distance relationship myself. So whatever advice I would give, I don't even know if it would work. I can't give specific advice, but I feel like they should talk about these certain things. My friend actually moved to the UK and left her family here, but she came back like after a few months. And I asked her, what was the worst thing for you? Why is it you then decided to come back? She's like, Rumbi, it's not worth it. I've got a family. I've got kids, right? I want to be with my kids. Sometimes you want greener pastures. Sometimes you want to do things better or whatever. And things are not working out where you are. But you have to sort of weigh what is important to you and what is not important to you. And if your family is also very important to you, especially if you're at the young stages of your relationship or your marriage, as women, we obviously sacrifice so many things. If I am to get into a marriage now, if I wanted to go to varsity in the UK for 3 years, I can't do that anymore. Now I have to look for something online because I also want to grow a family. I want to raise my kids and stuff like that. So sometimes I feel like as much as there's greener pastures and it looks like there's greener pastures, but it might actually affect you even more than you thought it would. It's not as green. I always say the grass is greener where you water it. So it might look like it may have been greener pastures. If there was a way for them to go together, it would have been better. But in relationships like this, it's difficult. If you're married, and you're still at the young stages of your marriage, I don't think it's a good idea to then just separate like that. If he's working on getting her to go there, he has to work on getting her to join him there. Because yes, women do have needs just like men have needs. So he's probably also out there trying to scratch his itch. So it's both ways. They have to try and get together somehow.
Okay, I want to ask you a question. Say me and you are together and we're in this similar situation, right? And I'm in the UK, and you know that I care about you. You know that 100%. Because like how we as men, how men view this thing. Like me and I go scratch each angle. I'm not emotionally attached to that person. Like hence quite I think my 80s do part of my 80s. But what I'm saying is that like, I mean, if she just then scratches her itch, let's be practical about those things. It's like 3 years, you know what I mean? I mean, you're a sexually active human being, and going for 3 years, I wasn't none or anything, you know what I mean? So I'm saying, would it be deemed cheating when you just, have a young,
It is. It is cheating.
No. And then I don't go provide. He's a service provider. I think it's
but I think for women,
for
women, it's not. For me, I don't know. Maybe I'm a different kind of woman. I'm built different. But for women, you don't just scratch an itch and it's just scratching an itch.
I hear.
You're not gonna be with someone who you're not emotionally attached to unless you're a prostitute and you're doing it as a job.
Sex worker, but continue.
A sex worker.
Yeah.
Yes, let me fix that. But as a woman, you're not just going to wake up and scratch an itch and it's done. You get emotionally attached to that person. And I feel like we shouldn't open ourselves up to such scenarios if your relationship hasn't become that strong enough. And this sounds like it actually sounds like a very young relationship. And he's been there 3 years and he said it's greener pastures and he still hasn't managed to get his woman to join him.
And I like when you say this like sounds like it's a young marriage. One thing I was actually thinking about is that like it might sound like it's one case, but we are faced with these situations currently. You know, like the influx of people going to the UK war, and then I wonder how they deal with this, because like from what I've heard and seen and observed is that you find a lot of people breaking up Vashiga UK when they get back together. Because I mean, yes, we've been working for this plan for like, let's say a year or two maximum. Yes, ticket yakwana was always olive mates right? And then we realize yo,
but what you
this
also
thing is,
what you also don't realize is, because it's also it's a whole different landscape in itself. You're moving from Zimbabwe, for example, where
you're gonna like one yellow bone for 100 people, or will you move out to a society?
But not really. Not
100 yellow bones to one. I'm just being,
but not even about the physical or who you're meeting, but just how life is.
All right.
Life is completely different there, or besides you being able to go to the bank and just withdrawing your money. But life is completely different there, because when you're in Zimbabwe, for example, your man is going to work. If you're not working, you're getting your little money there, but you've got family support, you've got a social life. You go that side. You hardly have... Most of the people who are going there, some are going permanent aids, some are going on different jobs, and you work for your money, right? And you're doing 3 shifts, 4 shifts in a day, which means shift. You don't even have time with each other. You don't even spend time together as a family anymore. You've got kids, and these kids also have freedoms to say, so I can decide I don't want to stay with my mother. I even know of a case where a woman says, I'm such a witch, I'm a bad person, again, social welfare. Now she's at a foster home. She says, I'm not her mother. She doesn't want me to. There's so many dynamics that come into getting into these new societies that you're getting into. And then when you realize, plates, he's also going to be cleaning the house and he's going to be cooking today, because I'm going to be going to do my shift there and I'm coming back super tired. You don't even have a social life anymore. Yes, you might have friends, you can hang out and you can do things, but because the people who went kudara set up their lives there, things are a little bit easier, I'm sure. They must have been also difficult into breaking into those spaces. But now, with the way society is and with the challenges that we're facing in marriages generally, and then poetaka separation, mozo, and then there's so many different dynamics in a European world, and you're coming from an African setup. There's so many dynamics that also then come into play, and then you see more divorces happening even out there. You don't even spend time together anymore. You don't even see your woman like who she is. Anything, because no one cares about what you look like. So I think there's so many different dynamics to how things work out at the end of the day.
So what advice would you give this person? Because in any uchogara gorua, in any mfakoziga, it's a long distance relationship. You don't know about cheat.
It's sad. Like, it's so sad that it might happen. She might actually end up scratching her itch.
All right.
And it might end up actually messing up her relationship with her man. But at the end of the day, all I can say is stand strong, my sister.
Can I ask you a question though? Because are we saying that everyone and the UK is being faithful? Because I know a situation where some face agato this guy, let me just surprise my dude.
Those things happen.
So I'm saying, are you saying people who are overseas faithful?
Not everyone. But then there'll always be, like, I remember when I was talking to you, I was like, there'll always be a bad apple. And there's always also good people. So there are people who can't control. Even personally, if I am to have a man who stays away from me, I will make effort to always try and visit.
All right.
Okay? I will make an effort. I'll try my best. But kana pasina ma resources akadaro personally inini as a person, speaking for myself, I don't think I'll have struggles to just not. You know, I think for women it's easier than for men. By the way,
can I ask then? What personal? Personally, like you currently working on something that like requires you to travel a lot and stuff like that. How's that like stress? How does that strain, or how do you navigate that with your personal person? Because I mean, you're out for days on end, weeks even, with a crew and stuff like that. Like, how do you deal with that? Like being away from your person?
You just have to strike a balance, and communication is important, like in any way, in any scenario. We can't run away from the fact that, imagine if I get a job with the UN and I have to be away for a year. Sometimes, like I told you, you have to see what's important and what benefits you're going to get from it. So if this is going to benefit us as a family, it's something that has to be done, and we have to find ways to make it work. So if you're going to be flying to me and me flying to you all the time, cool. But for me, I'm always in the bush. I'm hardly ever in the bush for over 2 weeks or a week. So the maximum I would probably go for is a week on an average. And communication can also be difficult because if I'm in Wange, for example, you've been in Wange, the network is really bad that side. So you only get Wi-Fi at the reception at the camp.
Yeah.
So as long as I have explained to my human that this is what I do, they understand it. It's all about communication. Get to understand what your person does, what your person's personality is like, what makes your person happy. Because then if he was to stop me from going to do my work, he'll also have an unhappy spouse, for example. So it's all about just striking that balance. When I have to travel, if I can travel with him, then I travel with him. Just like he travels a lot as well. If he's traveling, I travel with him if I don't have anything else that I have to do. If I do have something I have to do, we try to continue communicating. But where I can and where he can, I will go with him. He can be my driver for that specific trip, and we go together and we do this together. So it's all about just striking a balance, sacrificing some things, and seeing what's important and what's not. If there's a trip that I have to go to that's too long and it's going to affect my relationship, I also have to think about it like, okay, is it worth it? If I let this one go, I'm sure I can get a different one. Or now you try to just create a balance. It's all about protecting each other. It's all about understanding what your other person needs. And only if you just understand that in relationships, if you care about each other enough to care about each other's needs and feelings, you can strike a balance easily. It's difficult sometimes. It's difficult sometimes because the majority is like in here. Right now, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 guys, huh? I'm the only female there.
Nah, it's not good 4 guys. 4 hot guys. Carry on.
It's 4 hot guys, right? As you say, whatever. I think my man's hotter than everybody.
Alright,
but already in our industry, in the media industry, the majority of the cameramen, the gaffers, it's called cameramen.
Right.
You hardly hear camera woman. But it's not as many. So it's also an industry where it's just, you have to understand the dynamics of what's going on. Okay, so and I've got a camera guy. It's work, right?
I hear.
Yeah. So
say like what do you think she needs to do? Like as in yeah, but I mean, we're supposed to like at least give word of advice. Me, I think ngaite zveruwadzano and stuff, and kana pinda Roma chinani. But from a realistic point of view, I think she must just hold on. It might pay off. Yes, as much as maybe the guy might not be as faithful. You know, I know it's frowned upon in our African culture and stuff like that, but if she can, you know, we've got like technology rufamba. Pane or even a Tesla, pane toys. I don't even about Tesla.
Wow.
So I mean, technology is making it really. If you are vegetarian, if you don't like plastic, you know,
right,
fruit and veg.
No, but I really think you do make a point there. Like what I was telling you, Kutinin, personally, I would still hold on. I would still try my best. I feel like there are good people out there in the world, and if we just try to put in the effort to be the good, then I guess yeah, we're humans, we feel how we feel, but we can control ourselves.
True that.
We can't say we can't control ourselves unless you're a serial rapist and you just need to go to prison.
Yeah.
But we can control ourselves. We feel an urge. Yeah, it's painful. You hurt a little bit because you just want to release or whatever. But after that, what are you getting from it? So I feel like if we just feel like or think, what am I gaining from it? What's the bigger picture out of it? Sometimes the things that we really worry about sometimes are not things that we really should be worrying about. I hope she can hold on. I hope things can get better. I hope she can be reconnected with her man. I hope they can go and stay there together and things can work out and they can communicate better. And that she can still have that emotional attachment to him because long distance relationships can take a toll. So if they can communicate better, communicate more, try to do more sext and stuff, I don't know, but no, not sex tapes. No, definitely not. But text each other funny things, talk to each other, communicate. I think it will make the toll a little bit less.
Okay, anyway, so what's Rumbi doing? Any upcoming projects? What are you on about? What would you want people to know about what you are doing currently?
So Rumbi is conservation bay now, like
right.
100%. And I feel so fulfilled in this area. So what people should know is we're working on a show where we're going, obviously we're starting in Zimbabwe countrywide, but we just want to go across Africa and talk about the beauty of what we have, because the stories that you hear of Africa and that you see of Africa most of the time are the sad, poor, deplorable state of Africa. But we have a beautiful continent, and I'm just glad I'm well traveled, and I've also been out there and you see the different things. Yes, they've got better roads. Yes, they've got better buildings. But I feel like we've got better culture. We've got a better society. We've got better Ubuntu. We're just better at everything. And we've got more resources that we now need to know, like, how to manage them, how to take care of them. And the more we start managing and taking care of our own resources and protecting our environment and appreciating what we have and telling our own stories, because we can't be bashing our own. Who's going to come and tell the good news stories about Zimbabwe if all we can tell are the bad news stories? Everywhere there's something bad. You don't hear all the bad things about America, but there's so much bad that happens in America. But they give us this narrative that it's the concrete jungle where dreams are made of, But Africa is also really amazing, and they all want to come to Africa and invest in Africa. So why aren't you telling the good news stories about your own country? So that's what I'm all about, just trying to change the narrative, tell our own stories, our own way, and appreciate what we have. Remember, the grass is greener where you water it. So let's water what we have here, and you never know what we will do for future generations.
Anyway, thank you for hanging with me. Viewers and listeners, that's the end of the show today. Please click subscribe. Whether you have phone yakakreka kana uti wabata message chikomba chako chichi, tell us all those stories, and we really appreciate you guys. Like, share, subscribe. Till next time, out.
That was a confession. Go ye, my child, and sin no more.